I mean, ain't nobody asked, but my favorite poem is Me, written by God. So let's talk poetry. First, I would like to share a couple fresh ones that you guys have never heard before. All the time, sometimes I just got to pick up my phone, put a little line in there, and boom, that's a poem. That's a poem. Short poems are still poems. I learned this year that, you got to appreciate them just as much as the long ones. Because just because they're so short, because they hold so much power and so much without needing so many words, and just they just you just gotta love them. You just gotta love them. And I've learned to love mine because I always want to extend something and go on, and you get to choose when your poem is complete. And sometimes a one-liner, a two-liner, it's as complete as can be. This one is called Mirror Work. All the answers lie in my eyes, so I praise my reflection. Poem. This one I wrote on October 3rd around 2 a.m. After Sabrina Benham's The Loneliest Sweet Potato.
So I'm at the grocery store because I feel sad. I feel sad because nobody is in love with me. Nobody is in love with me, but everybody loves me. Everybody loves me because I'm good at making people feel good. I'm good at making people feel good because I've had a lot of practice on myself.
And yeah, this one is not complete, but we love a rough draft. When all else fails, I rewatch my favorite spoken word poems. My favorite spoken word poems give me all the reassurance I need. And I need reassurance a lot. I don't ask you for it because all of my requests feel overbearing. And if you think I'm overbearing, you'll leave sooner than I imagined. I imagine you leaving once you feel you've gotten too close to me, so I keep you at a reasonable distance and try to read your mind. As long as I can read your mind, I'm 2 steps ahead and can remain in control. As long as I'm in control, my heart can't be broken. But I'm already breaking my heart by trying to puzzle piece the future that I cannot see. We can go a little deeper with that. September 28th, in the morning, I wrote, I'm used to having to tiptoe in love, to constantly make sure I'm safe enough to walk and speak freely, to hope the version of them that let me in is the version that stays, to trust the only mask they are wearing is the one that protects their heart, to hope I feel at home with them in hopes I won't be given any reason to leave. But I'm normally left waiting for someone to go deeper with me without leaving me stranded, for someone to take their time with me in my heart and hope I'm not left with bruises from beating myself up for letting them in at all. I guess I'm not as scared anymore to open myself up. I'm just scared they'll leave a mess. But I can't call it a home invasion if I gave them the key. We could do a little something with that. We just love the abandonment one, don't we? September 28th. I am the most me I've ever been. I just wish I could love all the me's I used to be with a warm embrace or words of affirmation that only I knew I needed. I think every Jaxsyn just needed a little more love from themselves and to know that they are loved. I love me most now. I set us all free now by speaking the words we each held inside. So I've been asked, I think it was both in September when I was asked, one from one by my therapist and one by someone else, like, how would you describe your poetry? And, what do you want people to receive from that? And I didn't go too deep with my therapist, but I was just really saying, I want them to feel seen. I want them to feel powerful. I want them to feel heard. I want them to feel like they don't have anything to be afraid of expressing, and so I was texting someone else and they had asked me, what effect or expression do you want the people to feel when you write and recite poetry? And I went in a little more depth with my response and my message. My response was, I want people to feel safe, understood, seen, and heard. I want them to believe in themselves even an ounce more. I want them to know that their story is worth being heard, that they don't have to hold everything in. Getting up there and performing in front of strangers isn't the hard part. The hard part is writing about things I've never spoken about publicly and expressing that through my work. It's very therapeutic, and I always know someone will need to hear at least something that comes out of my mouth. I want them to feel the same with my written work. The ones I perform just take a bit more courage. I love how the beautiful thing about poetry is you're telling a story, right? And everyone is receiving something differently. Some of them might feel it the same amount inside, like they feel the depth. It touches them the same, but they're taking a different piece from it. And I've always loved rewatching my favorite poems because it's like, depending on what I'm going through at that moment, I receive something differently. Another line hits me more. And it's just always magical to just get responses, good responses from the audience, because, you know, I'm feeding off their energy, and like, you know, we're having a conversation there. And even afterwards, when people speak to me or people send me a message and let me know how, just one, that they're proud of me, and two, that, you know, whatever they got from it, it's like, oh, they see me, and it feels good to be seen. But all in all, I feel like the best way to describe my poetry is the Jaxsyn experience. This is the Jaxsyn experience. You're getting different parts of me. This is all me. This is all different parts of my story. And it's just a really beautiful thing, stories in general. But what I really love about hearing people's responses to my poetry is knowing that I make them feel the way my favorite poets have made me feel. I will be watching Button Poetry or Right About Now, you know, hearing my favorite poets get up there, and I'll be bawling in the bed at 1 a.m., you know, or I'll just want to hear something over and over and over and over again. You know, I'm here memorizing my favorite poets' poems because it's just like, I just love it like that. I memorize them like they're the lyrics to my favorite song. And to hear people, you know, say great things about my work, it's like, wow. And to know that I'm just getting started. Well, you know, this year at least has been the first time that I've actually gotten up and performed my spoken word, and that's a magical feeling. And it's just really cool. And it was the end of August when I had my first feature, and once I got off stage, I was given 15 minutes to perform. I did 3 poems, and once I got off stage, someone named Blasian, he I didn't know him at the time, but he hugged me and he started crying, and you know, he's crying on my shoulder and we're hugging, and it was overwhelming for me because it's like, wow, like in the moment I wasn't thinking, it's just like I'm just holding on to him, and it's like, wow, he really felt this. Shout out to the photographer who captured this beautiful moment. It's just, I didn't realize until like, it didn't hit me until like 2 weeks after how powerful that moment was. It's like, wait, I had someone bawling on my shoulder because of the story I was telling and how they felt it, and I'm doing good. People are hearing me. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. This is my gift. And you know, I don't see writing as a hobby. I see it as a part of me. And I'm not always doing it, and that's okay. But it's just a really magical thing. Every time I'm at a creative block, a writing block, whatever, I know exactly what book to pick up that'll get me going again. Now, I was introduced to this book in February, and I'm currently reading it right now for the 3rd time, Questions for Ada. I mentioned it in one of my other videos, Feeling My Feelings Part 1, and it hit me that the same day I started writing so much was the same day I started reading this book, Questions for Ada. This book is on another level. And I'm just in awe because of the magic in this book. And I'll tell everyone about it because it's just like, wow. And I wrote this on September 28th in '02. Questions for Ada. For the first time in forever, I woke up in the middle of the night and picked up a book. The one that has saved me multiple times and doesn't even know it. The one that feeds me inspiration and never leaves me hungry. Reading it over and over again is my thank you. This is how you give back to a book that can't hug you back and say, I love you too. This is how we take one step closer to me. This is how I know I'm going the right way. Y'all don't understand. Y'all don't understand. Like, you have to get this book. You have to get it. The top two. These two books right here. Questions for Ada. I don't like pronouncing people's names wrong, so I can't pronounce the writer's name. But also, it's just magic, and magic in this one as well. Veronica Wild's Love and Gaslight. When I heard about this one, I was like, oh, I definitely got to get that. I got to get that. Because the title just got you. And oh yeah, there's a emotional advisory triggering content. Yeah, it's a trigger warning because you will be triggered. But I would love to share some of my favorites. This one is called Survive. And shout out to this dryer sheet that Journey put right here as a bookmark when I let her read it. Some women survive by growing claws on their skin, pinching whomever comes, examining them before cutting their claws off to be liquid love. Don't curse them for when the attacker came. She was liquid first and has just learned her lesson. Some women survive by creating walls, big walls guarding their hearts, and you say, let them in. But she has been covered in regrets, crawled on all fours for her salvation. Don't curse them for when her attacker came. There she was, loving, but now she has built her walls brick by brick, guarding against parasites. Ooh, it's like a heavy book, but it lifts you up at the same time. Desert. He made love to you while trying to find her, looked at you as though your eyes would reveal the reason for her departure, kissed you like your lips were burning with her name. Your moans gathering, he tried to find her name. You stayed, didn't you? Tried to show him what lies within you was better than what she offered. You held his head and looked into his eyes, screaming in anger, I am here, look at me. And darling, you soon learned. She branded her being through his blood to the beginning of his soul. You foolishly offered flowers to a man seeking water. Like, y'all got to get the book. I can't even go on and on. That was just a little teaser. And then for Love and Gaslight, man, oh man. I think I read this one twice so far. But it's so much, ooh, this is so deep. And I love deep. Southbound. Today my GPS was pointing in the wrong direction, so I looked up which way west was, in case my map was magnetized towards you. It wasn't. I keep giving magic the upper hand on logic, while your disinterest draws me like a moth to a buzzing UV light. I'm not the only bug here. It's not your job to stop glowing. When day breaks, I'm trekking out east. Unnoticed coincidences are just events. Unfulfilled fantasies are just thoughts. They say an illusion is something you experience, while a delusion is something you think. But I didn't invent the way you looked at me. I misinterpreted it. I've always been good at making things up. If you told me right now that you love me, I'd believe it. I'd know it wasn't true, but I'd believe it all the same. The illusion is heartbreak. The delusion is deserving it. No compass has answers to questions I'm afraid to ask. Like, was any of it real? Like, do you ever think about me? If you go far enough east, you end up where west was. But if you go far enough north, you might just forget. But do you want to? But what in the end draws us anywhere? And what in the end is irrefutably real? I haven't read that in a while, and wow, I think I reread this book in February, which is when I received that soon after the questions for Ada. Wow. This one is called Advice from a therapy student. Oh, it's been a while since I read this one. You seem like the kind of person who spends a lot of time with people who are dangerous for you. Your standards for a good relationship are lower than you realize. You think these things are so wonderful to find in a person, but they're basic. Feeling safe is a basic thing. That could make me cry right now. So it's so funny because at the time I read that, I was getting to know someone in February, and something I was always saying is, I feel so safe with you, which is important. And it's so funny because I read that when I had this book with them when I was reading. I was reading the book while I was with them, and it had been a year since I reread the book, but I was reading it for the second time, and just reading feeling safe is a basic thing with the person you've been telling you felt safe with. Either way, it just hit me. Like, it's just like I had my eyes opened up. It was just like, feeling safe is a basic thing. Like, that's very, very important, but I need so much more than that. Wow, I have to reread it again. It's time. Wow, poetry is just like I just love poets. Poetry makes the world go round. Like, oh my God, it's time for me to rewatch Dead Poet Society. It's just such a beautiful thing, and how can you not love it? How? And so I'm often asked about, my writing process. It's not linear at all. 10 times out of 10, it is very emotional. It is a very emotional process for me. And Mimi had recently asked me, what comes first, the topic or the words? But look, the feelings come first. The feelings come first. I let them guide me. I'm just being a crybaby right now writing a poem, but one of the coolest things about poetry is letting it lead you. And what I mean by that is, sometimes you write and you just figure out what you're writing along the way, and sometimes you go in with an idea. You start writing with an idea and have an idea what you want to write about. And sometimes it takes a completely different turn. I started this poem writing about tears, about how I haven't been crying much and crying in a while, and how I miss my tears, right? And it turns out I end up writing about a traumatic experience for me. And I include that in there, and it's like, wow, what a turn that took. But this is also therapeutic, and it's just interesting to see where you're led with your own words, and how poems come to be. Like, honestly, most of the time I just start writing. And by the end it's like, oh, so this is what we're writing about. Oh, so this is the path we're going to take. And you just let it flow. Just let your feelings flow. Let your feelings guide you. Because I want to be more specific in my poems, because these words belong to me. So, this is my experience. No one else can take this experience. People can be able to relate, but these words, when I quote somebody in this poem, these words are specific to me. When I talk about what happened, this experience is specific to me. And in a way, I'm taking my power back with these poems. Yes. And sometimes it goes all over the place, but I know it's a good poem if I break down bawling while I'm writing it. That's what happened with Redemption Tears, and that's what happened with Tension of Opposites. And it's overwhelming. It is very overwhelming. I'm struck by surprise because of the way it goes. But you have to trust it. You have to trust it. Your feelings will guide you that right way. Just don't, especially when it comes to your art. In general, I kind of, let my feelings take the wheel when I should be at the wheel, But when it comes to your art, let it go deep as you can go. Don't hold back. How is it going to be a beautiful thing? How are you going to continue to evolve and grow with your art if you're not going deep with it, if you're not allowing yourself to go there? So yeah, writing is so therapeutic for me, and sometimes I forget to pick up my pen, but I always know I can. I always know what'll help me, and it's always writing. Whether I'm journaling, whether I'm writing poetry, it doesn't matter. My pen will do it for me every single time. And something else is, with my poetry, I think in pictures. So when I write, it's like I already see it in my head. When I come up with a metaphor, I see the actual picture for it in my head. So when I say, for redemption tears, I think I miss my tears, the weight of my reflection running away from me with no sense of direction. When I say that, I picture my tears, the tear running down my face, and I picture myself looking down at them and me seeing my reflection in the tear. That's what I'm talking about. It's water, it's looking back at you. You can see the reflection. What was the line after that? I think I miss my tears, the weight of my reflection running away from me with no sense of direction. This is a no judgment zone, and I don't know where I'm headed either, but I do know, look, I forgot the words. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. So, but that's with all of my work. I think in pictures, and me writing my poetry is describing what I see, but in metaphors and in the feelings, it's putting it all together. It's a whole combination of it all. And it's just so beautiful because it's like, when you people hear my poetry, when I hear poetry in general, it's like we're all watching the same movie, but we're taking different points from it. We all come to different conclusions based on our own experience, our own feelings, and what we're going through at that moment. And it's just a really lovely thing. And I might mean something by when I say a line, and when the person who receives it, they didn't take it that way. And that's a beautiful thing. So it's like, I know what it is. And then me speaking it is a translation for them. That's the translation. It translates to something else. It translates to whatever speaks to them, because that's what they need to hear, But we all feel it. And we're gonna feel it every time. And I thank everyone who supports me on this journey. We're only going up. We're only going up. Where else is there to go? I'm so excited. Like I'm just getting started, and I love writing. I love poetry. I'm a poet at heart. Like, if anything, I'm a poet at heart. And that shows. And I'm glad people feel me when I speak, because it's me. It's always me. It's always the truth. I'm not holding back. Getting up there is not the hard part. It's digging deep. That's always the hard part. That's always the uncomfortable part. But something beautiful always comes out of that. So keep loving the Jaxsyn experience, okay? You're gonna keep loving it. And, obviously, as I grow, I'm gonna have so much more to say. As I experience more, I'm gonna have so much more wisdom, so many more, metaphors, my wordplay improved as I work on my craft. But I'm never gonna stop writing. And Josiah, another poet, shout out to you. When I performed after my feature, he sent me a message and said, vulnerability is your superpower. And I'm still working on being more vulnerable. And it's uncomfortable, but it's me. It's who I am. I'm emotional. My emotions all over the place, but I gotta hold on them. And I'm not afraid to express them. It's just scary, that's all. But the Jaxsyn experience is what this is. So thank you all so much. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, Y'all know what to do. Thank you so much.